What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chaotic Minds. As always, it's Winged.
And the midget.
And welcome to the last episode of the month, where we typically do our Reddit stories. In this instance, we're doing a bunch of Am I the... trying to say this nicely, because we're technically within the first minute.
Yeah. A-hole.
Yes, that works. However, before we do, in case those of you who don't know, the actress who played Professor McGonagall, Dame Maggie, I believe her last name was Smith.
Yes.
Has passed away, which is sad. It does make the third celebrity. Fourth?
McGonagall,
Okay.
Snape, Hagrid, and the guy who plays all the goblins at the bank.
Also, both Dumbledores.
Yep.
But I was talking for this time period.
Yeah.
That she is the third.
Yeah. This is just...
It's sad for those people who were Harry Potter fans.
I grew up knowing her from Sister Act.
Yeah, any of her work before the Harry Potter series. Most people, most younger folks who know of the Dame knew her from Harry Potter.
Yep.
So.
And those who are just a little bit older know her from Sister Act and Downton Abbey. And then before that, she did a lot of really awesome movies that I have yet to see most of them. I've seen a couple in the 50s and 60s. So, yeah. Really cool.
But with that being said, we are going to start off with our first story. First story is, am I the asshole for not selling an expensive laptop I was given so my parents can afford my sister to go to an autism program? Do with that what you will.
I am on the fence on this one because on one hand I want to say yes, on the other hand I want to say no. So it's all reserved judgment.
The story goes, my 12-year-old sister has autism. The older she gets, the more trouble she has interacting with people and calming herself. When she was younger, she could self-soothe and other things so much better than now. Her behavior is way worse than before, too. She cries a lot more, screams a lot more, and she breaks stuff more often. Not to mention she spits out food way more than before because the food can be a sensory overload for her. My parents have spent a lot of time and money trying to get her all the help she needs and trying to make life more comfortable and accessible for her. This comes at my expense a lot. I don't get to go out with my friends very much. Unless a friend can pay for me. My stuff is all secondhand, including my school laptop, which I needed for high school. That can do so little because it's so old and slow and takes forever to use. I don't get new clothes. I don't get nice gifts for my parents for birthdays or Christmas. They still try to spend some time with me, or their treat for me is occasionally letting me get a dessert somewhere because we don't buy those anymore because they see it as money that can be saved and put to helping my sister. A few months ago, my parents learned about this program for autistic tweens and teens. It's expensive to join and that they don't offer any financial aid with it. But a lot of people swear it's a great resource for kids who could use help socializing, making new friends, and even learning how to handle emotional control again. They have therapists, psychologists, and adults with autism who have experience with this stuff to help kids. On top of activities and stuff. They started saving, but it's such an expensive program. It happens after school and weekends, and you can choose when your kid joins. 3 weeks ago, I was given a gaming laptop by someone close to me. This laptop cost more than $1,000 and was the nicest thing anyone ever gave me and really blew me away. I asked someone to keep it safe for me because I was worried that my sister would break it. When my parents learned about it through another person, they suggested it would be better sold and the money used for the program for my sister. I said no. They asked me why I needed something so expensive when it could be put to way better use. I told them I want the laptop and I can look forward to using it in a couple of years. They said it's selfish to think of wants over needs. I told them it was a gift for me and not my sister. They said I already have a laptop and I brought up how it's basically a sloth. They said it still cost them $70, which is a lot for them. Then they told me I already have a job so I could save and buy a laptop in a few years. But to think how much money that would benefit my sister. I kept saying no, and my parents think I'm the asshole. Am I the asshole?
No, absolutely not. And this is what I'm going to say about it. This was a gift for your child, not a gift for your child to sell so that their other child could go to a camp for autism. Yes, I understand very closely how expensive it is to raise a child with autism or an autism spectrum disorder. I know several people who have raised an autistic child. They have never asked their other children to help pay for that child's therapies or extracurricular stuff like this camp. Yes, it would benefit the child, very much so. But why don't the parents try selling something to send their child to camp before you ask your child who got a gift from somebody to sell their stuff? Sorry, you're not the asshole, OP. I apologize on behalf of your parents because they're idiots.
My whole thing is gifts when a gift is given, typically it's given to one person. And it's meant for that one person. Now, there have been occasions where a group gift can be given. It's for everybody to be able to use freely, whatever. Like growing up as a kid, one of my uncles got me and my siblings a PS2.
We got games for the kids that were a group
We got
gift.
the Switch for the kids.
Yep.
But when it's a one-to-one gift, that is yours to keep and do with what you please. And for somebody to go ahead and be like, well, you really should do this for your sister, it brings me back to one of the other stories that we covered, or we may have covered, and I just see, if we haven't covered it, it's just because I see it all the time on TikTok. Oh, just do it for Dan.
And that's the thing, is like going, kind of branching off with what I was saying, even when we were hurting and we almost lost our house, almost lost where we were living, I still didn't sell their group gifts because that is theirs.
Yeah.
I sold my Wii, which hadn't been played in a while, yes. Did it hurt me to sell it? Yes. I didn't want to sell it because I loved that thing. But I still would sell my stuff before I sold any of our kids' stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we downsized a lot when we were in that position, just so that way the kids could keep their stuff. And the fact that somebody else gave them, somebody that they're close to, gave OP a really expensive laptop. And the parents are like, well, you should do this or you should do that. No, what I should be doing is playing on the thing and doing what I want with it. That's what I should be doing and not having this conversation. Like, would it be helpful? Sure. But that has to be their choice. That has to be OP's choice, not the parent's choice to be like, you need to do this. It's like, I don't need to do anything with the gift that I was given.
I have an idea. Why don't the parents pick up a couple extra shifts at work?
Yeah. Or why don't the parents go ahead and get a loan somewhere? Like, if they're that concerned and they're that hell-bent on doing something.
Payday loans.
There's something that my dad told me, and I never got it until, like, I got older. And it's, if you want to do something, you're going to do it. And you're not going to let anything stop you. Like, it's not going to matter what happens, what comes of things. If you want something bad enough, you're going to do whatever it takes to get what you need or what you want. So if they want to send their daughter to this camp, they're going to do whatever they have to with their things to go ahead and, make sure that their child gets there. And I will say the smartest thing that kid did, the smartest thing that OP did was have that laptop somewhere
safe.
else.
Yep.
Because I can
say.
almost guarantee that if it was with him,
it would either get broke.
It wouldn't get broke.
Or the parents would sell it.
He would come home and it would no longer be there because the parents would have pawned it or sold it or whatever.
Yep.
So, some comments for it. First one right off the bat. Not the asshole. You are allowed to have nice things even if their value could be used better or could be better used to support someone else in your family. Your parents are wrong to take things from you in order to do more for your siblings. In this case, what they do or what they want to do amounts to theft and conversion, which is taking your things without your permission and then using their value to pay for things that they want. The fact that they are related to you does not make that sort of behavior okay. Please tell whoever gifted you the laptop what's going on and possibly talk to a counselor at school to see if you can find an adult who can intervene for you. That somebody followed up, I would also never let that laptop out of my sight in case they steal it. Somebody commented on that. OP did it better. Someone outside the house currently has it for safekeeping so his sister doesn't break it. It is now also safe from theft. Excellent job, OP.
Yeah, OP is definitely not the asshole. The parents are.
Well, and somebody went ahead. Two people said something that we didn't even bring up because it didn't like connect in my head until I saw this. One person brought up, in the exact second you turn 18, lock down your credit. Somebody commented on that, and make sure you have a bank account completely separate from them. At a completely different bank, even though your info is supposed to be separate with the same bank, some tellers break the rules. So, I will agree with that. I don't believe that they are the asshole in any way, shape, or form.
Parents, you're the asshole.
Parents, if you don't get your head out your ass, you are going to not have a
child that
one
speaks
child.
to you.
Yeah. That child is going to disappear, and you ain't ever going to hear from him again. All right. Next story.
Next.
Am I the asshole for refusing to attend my sister's silent wedding because she's forcing everyone to communicate using only ASL, even when none of us know it? I know this
I'm gonna say that your sister's the asshole, not you, right off the bat.
Well, let's get into the story. I know this is going to sound insane, but I need to know if I'm the crazy one here. The OP is 34 male. His sister is a 31 female. My sister is going to be married in 2 months, and she's decided to have a silent wedding, which means no one is allowed to speak during the entire wedding. Instead, she expects all 200 plus guests to communicate using American Sign Language the entire day, but literally no one in the family knows ASL. Now, my sister is not deaf, nor is her fiance, nor are any of the immediate family members. She just thought it would be unique and intimate to force us all to learn a completely new language for her wedding. Her exact words, "It's more inclusive for the deaf community." Reminder, no one in the wedding party is deaf. I told her this is absolutely absurd, and she can't expect hundreds of people to learn a new language just for one day of her life. She got furious and said I'm ruining her vision and being ableist by refusing to participate. I told her this isn't about ableism, it's about the fact that none of us can communicate in ASL, and her wedding will basically just be 200 people sitting around silently confused as hell. She says we have plenty of time to learn the basics, but I'm a busy adult with a full-time job and a family and, I don't know, hobbies that don't involve learning an entire new language for someone else's Instagram clout. When I told her I might not even come if she doesn't ease up on the ASL only rule, she said I'm being selfish and not supportive of her groundbreaking idea, and that's in quotations. My parents are on her side, of course, because they think it's cute and creative, and they've already started practicing the alphabet as if that's going to be enough. Meanwhile, I feel like I'm living in some kind of unhinged dystopian reality where everyone is pretending that this is a normal or normal request for a wedding. Am I losing my mind here?
No, absolutely not. You're not losing your mind. ASL, coming from someone who speaks fluent ASL,
Well,
unless they're going too fast. As long as they're going at a normal pace, I can keep up. I am pretty good. It was difficult for me to learn. It took 4 years for me to just learn simple conversational pieces. And for her to be like, oh, I don't know if this is the case with, I'm an influencer, so I want all of my audience to be able to be happy on the day, and if you don't learn this language, then you still can't speak. It's ridiculous because people learn at different paces, for one. So what you think is enough time to learn is most definitely not enough time to learn for everybody.
yeah.
For one. For two, like I said, it's hard as hell. And people don't really think about it being difficult, but it is. And then 3, are you insane? Like, are you going to learn complete sign language? Is the priest going to have to learn sign language? Is nobody even allowed to speak it? Are you even going to understand your vows if everybody has to speak in sign language only? Like, you can't say it's a silent wedding and then have the pastor or priest or the officiant, there's a better word for it, have to learn sign language or use only sign language that you're not going to understand either. Like,
So,
I could understand having a sign language interpreter as an influencer, but to expect everybody to stay silent the entirety of the wedding and learn a new language if they want to speak, that's kind of ridiculous.
I do believe that they are some sort of influencer just because of the statement, for Instagram clout. Okay. The other thing is that you are appropriating somebody else's world for something that's cute and, creative and whatnot. And,
that's what you call kitschy. Whatever.
That is, you want to talk about him, she wants
Cultural
to talk about
appropriation.
OP. Well, she wants to talk about OP being ableist. She's doing the same thing. Because she is taking something that none of her party, none of the people at the wedding need, and using it to make it cute and original and unique and yada yada. That's not what ASL is for. It's a communication tool.
I could understand if her soon-to-be husband was deaf and having a silent wedding and asking people to learn, because that would be including him, but neither one of them are deaf.
Or any of the people that were there are mute or they're hard of hearing.
Exactly.
But nobody, from what it sounds like, nobody who is going to be attending that wedding is. So there's no need for them to go ahead and have everyone just be silent and just be talking via sign language.
I mean, if she wants to be able to include and be inclusive to all of her followers on Instagram, a sign language interpreter will do that just as well.
Yeah. Or subtitle everything. Like, take the time, hire someone to write subtitles for whatever the video is and have live subtitles going on. But don't sit there and try to be like, this is how my wedding's going to be, and if you have anything negative to say about it, then you're an ableist and you're ruining my vision and yada. This bitch is turning into a fucking bridezilla.
Extremely.
All because...
And her parents aren't any better.
No. Her parents are enabling her because they're like, oh yeah, that would be cute. That would be quirky. That would be, unique. Y'all are taking taking something from a smaller community that encircles the planet, just so that way it can be unique. That's like walking. That's like you see all those people who will get on everybody's case about, white people going ahead and going to like a Japanese town for a festival and wearing kimonos and all of that, and you're appropriating.
If you want to have your wedding be cute and unique and whatever, have your husband-to-be's best friends play Flower Dudes and dance some random song going down the thing.
Well, that's not unique because other people have done it.
Yeah, but
you know who else has who else has used sign language in their weddings?
Deaf people.
People who actually need to use sign language in their fucking weddings.
Yep.
Don't sit there and try to be like, "Oh, this is just cute." Yada yada. This is so unique and so groundbreaking, and that it's not.
It's not, and it's not going to be cute when you accidentally say the wrong thing because you move your hand in the wrong way doing ASL. You can completely insult somebody, or you could be completely trying to say, hi, hello, how are you, and all this, and it be perfectly fine if you were perfect on your hand gestures. But if you are not great with your hand gestures and sign language, a phrase can turn from being nice and polite to, I'm never speaking to you again. I can't believe you said that to me.
Yeah. Like, I don't know sign language. I know how to do the basic alphabet, and I know how to say a few cuss words. But that's it. There was an instance where when I was working at one of my old jobs, I was driving around and helping people. It's 3 letters. They're all the same letters, for those of you who may not know. But I came across, I had to go to a call for someone who was hard of hearing and was better off communicating via sign language. And he was trying to sign to me, and I held up my hand, did the whole hang on a minute gesture, and I pulled out a notepad and I wrote down, I apologize, I don't speak sign language. What do you need? And I handed him the notebook and my pen. And he read it and he like thumped his head like, oh, gotcha. Which is like, I don't know if that's actual sign language or not.
It's kind of a slang
but
phrase.
He wrote down what was going on, and we went through the steps, and I showed him everything that I was doing, walking him through it, writing down what I needed to communicate, or he looked at me like, what? And I made sure to slow down, because I typically talk fast, or faster. Comes with being raised on the East Coast. But I typically talk faster than most people, and he was trying to read my lips, and the second that I realized that he was trying to do that, I slowed down my talking so that way he could go ahead and understand what I was saying, and I was saying things in a crisp manner. What's the actual
Enunciated.
word? That's the word I was looking for.
You were enunciating
Properly, just so that way he can understand. And I would say a few words, wait, he'd give me like this slight little nod, and I would continue on my sentence. Would I love to have known sign language for that at that moment? Sure. It would have made communicating so much more easier. But that's a practical use for it. This chick is trying to use sign language as a quirk to make her wedding unique. You want to have something unique? Have sparklers on the bottom of your dress, and when you're going down the aisle, they're burning your leg hairs, and you're having to boot scoot yourself down the aisle quick in order to get down to the end. You have like some American Gladiator style, thing set up for the aisle that you have to dodge all these things in order to get to the end of the thing.
Unique decorations.
Make it like an American Ninja Warrior course, or what was the there was that old Japanese dub show where it was like,
I know which one you're talking about,
like
the game show.
Something Castle. Morimoto's Castle or something like that. I don't remember. But have something like that. Like, that's unique. Have a theme. Like, we're planning on doing Alice in Wonderland. If we can.
If we can.
You know, but have a theme. Pick an old story that you guys love to read and make your wedding around that theme.
I know somebody who did a Harry Potter wedding.
You know, have people show up, like having a masquerade wedding where the only people who don't have a mask are the bride and groom. You know, that's a unique wedding.
As a bride, I would totally wear a mask.
You're not wearing a mask? Because I want to make sure that it's actually you that I'm marrying and not somebody else.
Not a full mask. It's one of those masquerade.
Domino masks?
No, like
that's
the eye masks. Sparkly, pretty.
Domino masks.
Yeah. Something like that.
Nah, nope. I'm okay with doing an Alice in Wonderland themed one because that is my favorite story of all time. And you really enjoy it. But that's a unique thing. Sitting there and taking someone's language.
Appropriating something for your gain.
When there's no need for it is asinine, backwards, and it is discriminatory towards most of everybody else. So, comments for it.
OP, you're not the asshole.
Some comments for it. First comment. I so badly want to attend this wedding just to witness the dumpster fire in person. I would wager a good sum of money that people get frustrated and start talking within 10 minutes of the I do's being said. Anyway, not the asshole, because attending a wedding is about supporting a relationship. It is not about being part of someone's vision or aesthetic or whatever idiocy people are picking up from social media. Somebody commented on that. Or another comment said, there is absolutely no way people don't start whispering from basically the get-go and a low murmur 10 minutes in, but 20 minutes everyone is just talking normally. I don't understand the vision here. To have her wedding feel like a funeral, like you're at a monastery where the monks all took vows of silence, to diminish a real lived experience either via injury, illness, or being born deaf, and appropriate it as a aesthetic, and this one was done with sparkles around it, for your wedding is just massive ignorance. Like, is the ceremony in ASL, the vows, do they find bartenders and servers that can sign? When people just start talking, is the wife going to stand up and loudly sign at everyone to shut up? What about the music? Does silent wedding mean no music either? This can't be a real thing. It's so wildly naive, not in any way practical, and so out of control, self-important, that she even for a second thought that this was something she could actually ask of people. And expect them to actually follow through is just on a level I cannot even imagine. So, yeah.
Yeah,
not the
definitely
asshole.
Not the asshole, dude.
All right. Next story.
Next.
Am I the asshole for not changing the name chosen for my son because my sister, who struggled to have a child, wants it for hers?
No, you're not the asshole.
Here's the story. I'm 26 female. The OP is a 26-year-old female. They are due in a couple weeks with my first baby, a boy. And I already know when he'll be born because I have a C-section scheduled for medical reasons, so this is set in stone. We chose to name him after my husband's dad, who died when he was a baby. This was something very important to him and therefore important to me. It was decided early in my pregnancy but didn't get announced until my baby shower some weeks ago. We only let people know then because some wanted to personalize their gifts to us or add additional gifts to the name. My oldest sister, 36 female, is due late December, early January. This is also her first child after 12 years of infertility and struggling to conceive. Our middle sister, 34 female, was the first to have kids and has 5 now. She's also done having kids. For my oldest sister, watching our middle sister have kids so easily really hurt her, And I know their relationship struggled because my sister joked that she would carry a baby for my oldest sister and her husband, and she didn't say it as a joke at first. It was really hurtful to her. So there's some family tension there. I was disgusted by what our middle sister did too. They were always the closest since they're only 2 years apart. I was never very close to either because of the bigger age gap. My oldest sister and I grew closer with our pregnancies, and she has told me that she had a name picked out, but not a girl one yet because they had changed their mind about the girl name that they had chosen. She asked if she could tell me when they decided on the girl name. I said, of course. They found out they were having a boy a few days before my shower, but she decided to wait to tell me the name until after because she didn't want to take the focus off of me. But then my son's name was announced, and it was the same name as the one that they had chosen. She asked me afterward if they could find another name. She said she really wants her son to have his own special name, and they've had this name chosen for 10 years. I told her this is my late father-in-law's name, and it means so much to my husband. She told me she really doesn't want the cousins sharing a name. I said it could be worse. She left in tears, and she went quiet for a while. But after a couple of weeks, she asked me again to please consider another name. I let my husband know what was going on, and we worked out something to say together. And then I communicated that we would not change the name. When she pushed, I pointed out my son would be born first, so it wasn't me stealing the name. She made it very clear how hurt she is and how she feels like both me and our middle sister fail to understand all she's been through and lack compassion for her. I feel awful. Am I the asshole?
No, you're not the asshole.
Here's the fun fact about names. You ready? You're ready for this. It's going to blow your mind.
Yes.
You ready? Are you sure?
Yes.
There is not a name that is on the planet that has not been given to somebody else. It's almost like every name has been picked before.
Yep.
I mean, for fuck's sake, somebody went ahead and named their kid the first 5 letters of the alphabet.
Absidy.
It's like,
yep.
Really? Some celebrity, and we're not going to go into who,
Apple.
named their kid after a direction.
Yeah.
We have kids being named after, food and vegetables. There's a couple of names that have been made illegal in the United States, like prostitute and beer. Like somebody tried to name their kid Budweiser.
Yep.
In Japan, it's legal to name your kids a slur. Like there was one of the names in Japan that's not allowed is like the kanji for prostitute.
No.
But if you alter the kanji a little bit, it makes a different word, and it still looks like the word prostitute, but they can argue, oh, it's not prostitute.
Yep. And when Miss Faith, God rest her soul, was still a social worker, she had a couple come in, a lady come in that was pregnant, and she had inquired about the baby's gender, baby's name, and she said, it's going to be a girl, and I'm really excited because I found a really pretty name that I really like. She said, oh, what's that? Gonorrhea. Not even joking. The lady named her daughter Gonorrhea.
I'm going to say this. It was always funny at the family reunions or family get-togethers on my dad's side. Because my dad...
Mike.
My dad, my uncle, my youngest brother, my grandfather were they all shared a first name. Now, granted, my grandfather, my dad, and my youngest brother were senior, junior, and the third. And my uncle had
Did they have the same middle name?
Yes, that's why they were senior, junior, and the third. My uncle had a different middle name, which is why he wasn't included in the chain of whatever. But somebody would go ahead and be like, "Hey, Mike," and you'd hear 4, yeah. Well, 3, yeah, and 1, eh. Youngest brother was, baby at the time. And it was always funny to watch. There is nothing in anywhere that states that 2 people in the same family cannot share a name. There is
2
a reason why
cousins
they have
can share a name.
There's reasons why they have senior and junior and the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th and the 6th and the 7th and the 8th and blah, 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 down the line. Cousins can share the same name. Just let it fucking happen.
I'm surprised your brother didn't name his son Michael.
No, I think my brother is like, he's like, I'm going to be the last one, at least with my kids. He doesn't want another Mike.
Right?
And if there is, he's going to have like some spin on it where it's not going to be like his middle name will be Michael, but not his first name, right? Just that way there's still that tie somewhere in there. But I honestly don't think my brother, I think my brother is like, okay, I'm the 3rd, I'm the last one that's going to be named the same. Now, later on down the line, there could be a 4th.
And see, the thing is in order for it to be 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever, it has to be that son who's named the 3rd has to have the 4th, and so on and so forth.
Not necessarily. So how name succession works is you can go ahead as long as you are within the same bloodline as somebody who has had the name before, you can technically be the next number, right? So like, let's say my brother doesn't have any kids that he names, the 4th, right? But his kid has their grandchild, right? If his kid wants to name the grandkid after the line.
See, and that's where you're
that's
wrong.
Where the
because
4th would
I've looked at it, and that would make it to where if I had a son that I named after my father, it would have to be called Junior. No, that's not how it works.
No, you are incorrect in that.
I looked it up.
No.
I looked it up.
No.
Everywhere.
Here's
and
how
everywhere
it works.
said the same thing that I said.
Here's how it works. Senior and junior are 2 different things from the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd. Okay? When you have a senior and junior and you name your kid the same name as you, they automatically become the 3rd because they are technically named after their grandfather. If you were to have a kid and you would have named him after your father would automatically become the 1st, and your kid wouldn't become a junior. That child would become the 2nd. That's how that works.
I looked it up.
I know the history of it.
I've looked it up several places.
I know the history of it. That's why.
It's what I said.
No. That is where you're wrong.
We'll agree to disagree.
That's why in the British monarchy, right? They had King George VIII, right? He wasn't named after his father. He was named after his grandfather, who was the 7th. That's why when they become pope and they adopt a new name, they become Pope whatever the insert number, because they are named after a predecessor. Okay? If you have a kid and if I was to have a kid, like my own biological child, right? And I wanted to name it after my dad, right? That kid would become the 4th. That's how that works. You have to name your child after their grandfather to get the numbers. Junior kicks in only if the child that you have, is named after you. But any child named after the father, going past that, like if I was to have a kid and he was going to be Zach, he was going to be Junior, right? Any kid after him, any child after him that would be named the same way would have a number, because they are the third of that name. They are the fourth of that name. That is what the numbers dignify. That's the description of it. They are the fourth person of that name. That's why. That's what that is. So, like, if Haley was to have a kid...
I understand what you're saying.
If Haley was to have a kid and she was to name it after you, right, you would become the first of your name. That kid would become the second, because it'd be the second of that name, and so on and so forth. Even girls can have that. So, but anyways.
Let's move on.
Some comments for it. Not the asshole. Cousins can have the same name. I assume they'll have different middle names and different last names. You can use first name, middle name, or first name, last name to distinguish them if they're together and you need to call out to one of them. But realistically, how often does that happen? Or Sally's Ethan or Janie and Janie's Ethan if the relatives are discussing the cousins. It's not that hard. Somebody was like, try to let your sister know that cousins sharing a name when both sets of parents have genuine reasons for wanting that name can be a special bond for them growing up, and how loved and wanted they are, and how it is such a beautiful coincidence that both parents have chosen the same name. You'll find natural ways to differentiate between the two, like James G and James K, for example, or whatever. Make it something that brings your family together. So general rule of thumb or general consensus here is not the asshole. Next story. And now this one is a two-parter. And the reason why I say it's a two-parter is because there is an update. So I will give you the option. Do we want to read the first part of the story, give our opinion, and then read the second part of the story, and then change our opinion, or do you want me to read both parts of the story so we have the entire picture and then go from there?
Let's do the first part and give our judgments, and then if we change our mind after the update, then we can change our mind.
Okay. Am I the asshole for snapping at my parents for treating me more like a second mom than their daughter?
No, you're not the asshole.
OP is a 23-year-old female and the oldest of 3 siblings. My parents divorced when I was 6 and both of them moved on. My mom remarried and had 2 kids and then divorced again. My dad has a daughter with his current girlfriend. We're a big mixed family and we actually get along pretty well. I love my siblings and I help with them a lot, especially when we are having family gatherings. But lately it feels like I'm expected to do everything. My parents only really talk to me when they want something. Now I'm 3 months pregnant with my fiance, and 2 weeks ago we had a family gathering. Like usual, I ended up watching all the kids. I didn't mind much until after dinner. I sat down with a brownie sundae when my little sister, one of my mom's kids, asked for a bite. I gave her some, but then she kept asking for more, and I ended up giving her most of it. My fiance said, "Okay, now leave your big sister some." And my dad responded with something like, "You should realize an older sister is like a second mother, and that won't change even when she has her own kids." That hurt a little. I had really wanted that dessert, but I gave it up for my sister anyways. And hearing my dad basically say that I'll always be expected to take care of everyone, even when I have my own baby, just hurt. My fiance tried to brush it off and went to see if there was still some left, but my parents got defensive and started listing all the things an older sister should be or expected to do. I snapped and told them they've never really treated me like a daughter, just someone who's expected to help out all the time. I immediately regretted it and apologized, but my mom grabbed my sister and didn't talk to me for the rest of the night. My dad didn't say anything, but now barely responds to my texts. I'm worried I messed up my relationship with my parents and my siblings. Did I overreact, or how do I fix this?
You're not the asshole.
No.
It gets to be a lot. Coming from someone who's the oldest of 3 in my part of the family.
I was the oldest of 5.
I was expected to take care of my siblings. Even after I turned 18 and moved out of the house,
I mean, shit,
my
even
brothers
to this day.
my youngest brother was dumped on my doorstep for the weekend because it was Father's Day weekend and my stepmom didn't want to deal with him. And I had to take care of him that whole weekend. Had no communication with them because they turned their phones off. So I understand OP's reasoning.
I mean, you still have that issue now. I mean, how often do you
Good
get phone
Lord.
calls being like, hey, you need to go do this for your brother
Right?
or brothers, and they just expect you to drop everything and go deal with it?
I'm
Like-
41 years old. I am not my brother's keepers.
Like, I'm the oldest of 5, and granted, the way that my parents raised us was, you learn to be very independent when you start, getting older and you can start making decisions and all that, right? But I still remember being the one to potty train my younger brothers, right? I still remember, my younger brothers waking up in the middle of the night crying, and I'm in middle school, and because we're all in the same room, me, comforting my brothers so that way my parents could get some sleep. I remember going to these family gatherings and being, all right, you go over there and watch the youngins, or get them in the pool and let them splish splash around, but you got to keep an eye on them. I remember doing all that kind of stuff. And part of it was like, yeah, I'm the oldest brother. I got to set a good example. But then as I got older, I was just like, I had that realization of, these aren't my kids. They're my siblings. And with how I was when I was younger and a little more wild than what I am now, I am not a good role model for them. So don't have me try to be a role model for them. So it finally got to a point where my sister was the one, my parents would step out to run errands on the weekends, and they put my sister in charge of my younger brothers. And, everything was worked out fine or whatnot. And, even when I moved out and I went into the military and then I came home and then I went, I moved down to the Carolinas and then I went home and then I moved out here. Like, I was still, like, when I moved back home, I was expected at times to be like, hey, take your brother here, take your brother there, help out with them. And it's like, I don't mind helping, but I'm not the one who's in charge of them. What am I supposed to do if something happens and they get hurt? I don't have any of their information. I don't even have power, any sort of legal guardianship over them. So if something was to happen and I had to take them to the hospital, I wouldn't be able to give anybody any information because I'm not their guardian.
And you wouldn't be able to sign for it anyway because you don't have written permission. That's how hospitals work.
Yeah.
They'll treat them emergently, but they won't allow you to be in there until after they call your parents.
Yeah. So, like, I can understand it. I'm always, for family comes first. You take care of family. You help out. Somebody needs something, and if you can do it, you help them with that, right? But there are some people who take that a little too far, and it's like you're just expected to drop everything.
I'll babysit them, but I ain't doing it for free.
Yeah. And it's just like, in this instance, the fact that the dad went ahead and said, oh, being the eldest sister is like being a second mother. Is like, no, they have a mom. They have 2, to be exact. There doesn't need to be a third one. And I certainly am not raising my siblings. That's just not happening. It's you made this child. You need to take care of them. I'll help when needed, but it is not my job to take care of your offspring. I have to take care of myself. That's going to come first. If I can't take care of myself, if I'm not okay, I ain't going to be able to take care or help out anybody else. So there is an update, however.
Okay.
The update, is thanks to everyone who commented and offered support. It really meant a lot. I wanted to give an update on what's happened since. 2 days ago, my dad called and said he was going to visit, but then changed his mind and asked if we could meet somewhere instead. When I showed up, my mom was with him, not sure why he didn't mention that. My dad actually tried to listen and understand me, but my mom didn't really let me get my point across. It was so hard to explain how I've been feeling recently and how it's been like this for years. I was only 9 when my first sibling was born. He's 14 now. And I honestly can't remember if I've been able to act like their daughter since then. Every time I've tried to explain how draining this has been, my mom would jump in with, "It was just a brownie." I mean, for God's sakes, it's not about the dessert. Eventually, I just excused myself and went home. After that conversation, I think I've made up my mind to go low contact with my mom. It's going to be incredibly hard, more than I can even explain. I've always said yes and put my family first, but with my own little family on the way, I don't want to bring these problems into everything. My fiance has been really supportive and said he's with me no matter what I decide. To answer some of the comments, my fiance and I don't live with my parents. We have our own apartment and are working on building our first home. As for how I'm pregnant with my fiance, the pregnancy wasn't planned, but we decided to go through with it, and we're hoping to be the best parents we can be. So, from what it sounds like...
OP, you're not the asshole.
From what it sounds like, the dad is at least attempting to hear her out and have that open communication and to be understanding. Now, whether that's because, this is his daughter and the other one is not, who knows? But at least the dad is trying to understand. The mom, however, she is focusing on the wrong thing. It's not the fact that it was a brownie sundae. It's the fact that OP has been feeling this way for years and has been her opinions and her concerns have been ignored for all this time, and she has felt like she has been left out in the cold by herself and pretty much being expected to raise somebody else's kid. And like I said, I can understand that. And I will hold true to my previous conclusion of OP is not the asshole.
No, they're not.
However, what I will say
Glad they stood up for themselves as an adult.
What I will say is the dad at least is changing from being an asshole to being he's understanding, whether or not he goes fully understanding and fully gets the idea has yet to be seen, but he's at least working to not be an asshole. The mom, on the other hand,
is an asshole.
It's still an asshole. And I will completely understand, and I'll be in that supportive section of going low contact with the mom, because the mom doesn't care. She's losing out on free babysitting or whatever, all because the daughter is going to be more focused on raising her own family, her own children, rather than raising her siblings.
She didn't lay down and make that baby.
No. And here's what I would have done instead, right? If a sibling of mine had walked up and was like, "Hey, can I have a bite?" Sure. I'll let you have a bite. "Hey, can I have some more?" Sure. Go talk to mom and dad. They're right over there. They can make you one of your own.
Or, okay, let's go. I'll give you a bite, and if they want more, okay, let's go make you one.
No, I'm not helping making it.
I would help make it.
I will let you have a piece of what I have, but the parents are going to be the ones helping you make one. Because knowing me, being me, I'm going to load that shit up. They leave me
with
unsupervised
as much
with
sugar
it.
as possible.
They leave me unsupervised with it. Cool. Everything's fucking getting loaded. And then...
Oh, you want extra chocolate syrup? Let's put some extra chocolate syrup on here. Let's put some extra chocolate chips. Or
let's put some
gummy
more
worms. Gummy worms and gummy bears, they're just sugar.
You know, let's go ahead and do that. And then when they start getting all rambunctious and wild and running all over the place, and somebody says something to me, well, maybe you should have been the one to do it.
Or sugar them up and be like, okay, I've got to go. I got work early in the morning. Bye.
Or I got to be somewhere else. Or, I'm not feeling well. I have to go lay down because I'm pregnant. And so I have to go home and take care of myself. So that way my baby, and I can be okay. And then you just dip. That would be my thing. But I am that level of asshole.
I am just that level of petty.
Yep.
If I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it full of sugar.
Yep.
And I did it, too. I gave my brother his first drink of Mountain Dew because my parents were like, here you go. We got to go do something. And then they were gone for like 4 hours, and I sugared him up. And I was like, I gotta work, so I need you to be back by this time. And they were like 10 minutes late, and I was like, okay, I really gotta go. I gotta go to work. Granted, I only lived like 3 blocks from work, but I was like, I gotta go. And I dipped, and then I got home, and they woke me up in the morning. They're like, how much sugar did you give him? You know he can't be eating all that sugar, and da-da-da-da-da-da. I was like, well, you guys were late. They never did it again.
Yeah. So some comments on this, on the update, is you might want to ask your dad why he brought your mom. Tell him you thought you were going to have a one-on-one with him about what he said, and having your mom there ended up being unproductive. If you don't want to talk to him, send him a note and see what he says. Your mom is clearly a lost cause, and you have your own partner and baby to prioritize. Another person went ahead and said, sometimes people don't perceive how demanding they've been until the victim cuts off all contact and stays away for some time. Months, if not years. Your mother will be overwhelmed by having to parent her younger kids. She'll be angry, but the situation is her own fault. Keep saying no, go low contact or no contact, and focus on your fiancé and your pregnancy.
Yep, I 100% agree with that.
Somebody went ahead and quoted part of that. Your mother will be overwhelmed by having to parent her younger kids. And somebody had said, this is 100% why OP needs to block her mom now. That woman knows she only has a tiny window of opportunity to browbeat the OP back into submission and exploit her before the OP delivers and realizes she should have put her own family first. Since once OP's holding her baby and thinking, I want you to come first, the mom's chances of milking OP for favors go way down. OP actually commented on this and said, you're right, I know she'll be angry, but at this point, I want to focus on my fiance and my pregnancy. So a lot of people, like almost everybody, is agreeing that no, she's not the asshole. And once again, I'll agree. That is the judgment.
Definitely not the asshole. Mom's the asshole. Dad's a partial asshole. And I'll say it's because the dad brought the mom knowing the daughter's feelings about what was going on with mom.
Yeah.
That's why he's the asshole. He's not the asshole because he's at least trying
He's not
to
fully
understand.
the asshole.
He's not trying. He's trying to understand why she's feeling that way.
Yep. But I think that's a good spot to close it.
Yep.
So thank you all so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. If you are listening to us on Spotify and you want to show support, through Spotify, click the download button. It really does help us out. It lets Spotify know, hey, we like what we're hearing. We want to hear more. They get back to us. We make more awesome content, and you guys have more things to listen to. If you would like to donate, there is a link in the description. We're not saying that you have to, only if you want to. And anything that we get in does go right back into the show to make it better, to make it better for you guys, who are listening to us. But as always, once again, thank y'all so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to love each other. And as always,
don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Bye.
Bye.